Apex Legends. That's right, I have a new crippling addiction. Apex has had its ups and downs, mostly downs for the past 3 years, but recently there have been some improvements and the game feels pretty good. Just in case you've been lost in the woods for the past few years, Apex is a pretty big battle royale shooter, but a lot of the player base quit over time because of various problems, like ballistic existing. Please remove ballistic. And you and I are gonna have a ton of fun talking about some things. For instance, Respawn will not stop controlling the meta. Now, I don't expect you to be an expert on balancing games, but I'm gonna give you a few options, and you're gonna tell me what you would do if you were working at Respawn. As an intern, at least. Let's not be too unrealistic. There's an underutilized gun in the game called the RE45, and it's not even worth picking up right now. Should you A, buff or rework the gun into a usable and balanced state, or B, turn it into the best close-range gun in the entire game? If you picked A, then you're fired. Here at Respawn Entertainment, we value people who are willing to make drastic decisions and go months without changing them. Every season, Respawn picks something that isn't meta and makes it the only thing worth playing. But sometimes this is actually a good thing. Getting to take a legend or gun that was unusable and be able to play well on it is fantastic. And other times, not so much. When Respawn decides what to buff, they have a huge wheel they spin in headquarters, and when we get unlucky, it lands on someone like Ballistic. If you don't know, Ballistic has an ability where he shoots a gun that makes it so you can't shoot your gun. Who at Respawn Entertainment decided they should take the ability to shoot away from people playing a first-person shooter? Surprisingly, this wasn't a huge problem when he was released in Season 17. He was played a little bit, but he wasn't very strong, and he just kind of fell to the wayside when there were better options at the time. And then Season 24 came around, and they made him insanely OP, because they want to make sure that our game isn't too much more appealing than getting waterboarded. Anyway, that was a bit of a rant. Point is, if a controlled meta ends up being bad, it's really bad. But recently, the meta hasn't been terrible, except for the RE45 and Caustic. There's way more viable guns and legends than we're used to. This isn't to say the game is balanced well, or even at all, but it's a huge improvement to where the game was just a few seasons ago. And speaking of seasons... Now, I'd like to think I'm a bit better than the average player, assuming the skill distribution isn't completely gaslighting me, but I have no right easily getting to diamonds. This game has an incredibly unique ranked system. First of all, you can't even lose RP for the first 2 ranks, so I'm not really sure why they even exist. And what's even more confusing is the difference between someone in silver and someone in diamond is literally just playtime. There's barely any difference in skill, and if you're perceptive, you may realize that's the entire point of ranked systems. Ranking up in a game should be a challenge. It should be a goal you genuinely work towards, and when you finally achieve it, you should be proud of your accomplishment. But Apex's rank system feels more like a participation award. I don't have to improve to reach my new highest rank, I just need to play more than I did the previous season. Arguably, Masters and Pred still mean something, but there's no reason only the 2 highest ranks should have this quality. Okay, but certainly if you have to spend so much time in ranks, you're rewarded for your efforts, right? Of course, they give you this badge. Wow. And not to mention, about a third of the top 750 players are likely soft cheating, but we'll get into that later. Speaking of ranks like Apex Predator, let's talk about how predatory the in-game shop is. So the easiest thing to talk about is that instead of pricing their items with dollars, they use an in-game currency. Shocking. There's like 1,000 studies that cover why this makes it easier to spend your money and a bunch of other nerd stuff nobody cares about. Instead, I want to talk about everybody's favorite topic, gambling. Now this isn't quite gambling, legally, but it is gambling. Say I want this cosmetic. I have to spend 300 Apex coins, which to be clear is 3 actual real-life dollars for a small chance to get the item I want. But this chance is actually a lot smaller than you think, which is something I hear a little more than I'd like. Because not only do some of the packs have extra cosmetics to make the pool larger, which lowers your chances even more, but you're also less likely to get the higher rarity items. So now what are the odds? 1 in 75? 1 in 100? I don't know, and that's intentional. So obviously people are a lot more willing to buy a chance at the cosmetic they want for 100 coins and spend 18 times that to buy it flat out. I'm assuming you're not a corpse and understand where I'm going with this, but just in case, most of the time it's way more expensive to gamble for it. But the most important thing to keep in mind when dealing with predatory systems like these is that 99% of gamblers quit right before their big win. It's 70% off, what's the harm in one more spin? I'm not exactly a pioneer with this opinion, and it's something Respawn devs tend to get a lot of backlash for. But more than likely, these systems are because of classic EA greed and aren't decisions that the developers really have a say in. Oh, by the way, fun fact, did you know Apex has something called... Apex is a fast-paced game where every second counts, and a tiny mistake can cost you the entire match. Good thing you can't randomly die behind walls. If you don't know what tick rate is, it's the amount of time the game refreshes every second. For reference, Left 4 Dead 2, a co-op zombie shooter that came out in 2009, has a tick rate of 30. And highly successful competitive shooter Apex Legends has a tick rate of 20? Now, sure, it's funny that Apex's tick rate is worse than a game that came out 16 years ago, but what does low tick rate actually mean? Just small gameplay differences, like your bullets not dealing damage. You can probably see why this is a problem in a game about hitting more shots than the other person. There are a couple reasons why Apex servers are prehistoric. Mainly, there are a lot more people in an Apex lobby than a game like CS2, which contributes to CS2 being able to have more than triple the tick rate. But the main reason is, the devs don't feel like it. Yeah, they have better things to do, like accidentally make Revenant invincible for the 3rd time. Speaking of the devs updating the game, we're on a streak of joy and whimsy right now. I said this earlier in the video, but there's a much wider range of legends and guns you can play without trolling your match, which on its own is pretty huge, but they've made some massive changes to other parts of the game as well. First, they removed being able to choose where you drop, and although I miss hot dropping, God rest its soul, the game quality is just flat out better. No longer do you run around the map for 15 minutes in between fights because everybody instantly killed themselves via gold drop zone. There are way more fights now, with way more teams. I actually have to use my brain and position inside the ring in advance, or make sure I'm not getting caught out on rotations. I genuinely can't stress enough how much more interesting the game is when you're frequently getting fights and have to play strategically. Also, people can't drop me in the corner of the map and sends me to a game where I'm not immediately fighting someone. My attention span is fine. Mind your own business. And the game is especially fun with friends. Probably. You'll have to let me know, I guess. So, game quality is better, the meta is significantly less rigid, and last of all, they're finally gonna delete ballistic from the game. Nah, I'm lying, but I had you excited there for a sec though. I had a fantastic time. Anyway, you have to subscribe, it's not optional. I'm really trying to build a big enough audience to rug pull, it's a dream of mine. Okay, thanks, bye.